Dark winter days are often for me long and difficult. Typically, the period that leads to Christmas and Christmas itself often feel to me like a long uphill battle with not much to look forward to. Then, usually, the regenerative magic of January kicks in and it puts an end to all the misery. But until that happens, those days of nominally joy and celebration tend to be quite slow and sluggish for me. So, to cope with that last Christmas, one of the things I tried was setting a routine of programmed listening of some well known musician. I knew that the habit would be easy to maintain. Listening is easy, and that a new album a day would always give me a feeling of renovation and adventure. There was no shortage of candidates. I finally went with David Bowie, of whom I knew little more than the greatest hits. Here's how it worked. The first thing I did was reading the Wikipedia entry for his biography. After that, I went to his discography page, read the first album's entry, and then I listened to that album. That was the habit. From that day on, first thing in the morning, I went to Wikipedia, read the story of the following album in Bowie's discography, and after that, I listened to the whole album. It was always a huge pleasure for me to wake up to that nice task, even though, naturally, I liked some records more than others. I usually listen to the records while playing video games because my brain isn't very fully engaged at those first moments of the day, and my hands needed something to do. I've sometimes fantasized about learning crochet or something like that to make the period more fruitful, but video games work really well, providing the adequate mix of attention and distraction. Please notice that in this case, listening to the music is the foreground task and playing the video game is the background, instead of the other way around, which is perhaps more common. More rules of the game. During the rest of the day, I didn't allow myself to listen to more Bowie music, neither the most recent listen nor any of the previous records. Very often, I was tempted to listen to a second album the same day, but I always stopped myself. Precisely, keeping a bit of that longing was what made the morning listenings so mysterious and attractive. Another objective of this exercise was generating a lot of first listenings, which would fill me with a lot of future curiosity. After finishing the exhaustive series, I was intending, as I'm doing now, to revisit the albums just according to my fancy, whimsically. Albums that I would only remember vaguely. Oh, I want to listen more to that one where he does X. That other one where there's that song that reminded me of, etc. In this aspect, the exercise has also worked out very well. It has created like a wealth of future listenings, always available and attractive whenever I don't know what to listen to next. Going through this practice every day was for me more thrilling than watching any documentary or daily show. Reading the story of the album, I felt transported to a period of its creation, the struggles, the human drama, the politics, the audio production techniques. And after that, I was always dying to listen to it. Very soon I discovered that it worked better for me if I skipped reading the critical reception section. Firstly, because it could bias me, making me expect beforehand, here comes the masterpiece, or here comes a flop, and that section often spoke of the songs one by one, songs that I hadn't listened yet, which made it all a bit theoretical and boring. This habit, in fact, worked so well that the very next morning after I finished the superb Black Star, Bowie's final album, I felt lost, somewhat like an orphan. And next thing I knew, I was starting again with the next candidate. I went to the Wikipedia biography and restarted the process. I finished that new musician already, plus another one, and I'm well into my fourth one in these days. So I really encourage you, if you like music like I do, to create a nice little habit of this kind for yourself. Because why do habits have to be only for boring things and not also for our pleasure, formation, quality leisure? Albert Einstein once defined discipline as remembering the things that you love, and I cannot think of a sweeter discipline than listening to new, excellent music every day. There's also something to be said about listening to whole albums. In other words, listening to the music in the way the original author intended it to be listened. It is often said that the album format is currently in decadence, that people nowadays have smaller patience and attention spans, and prefer listening to scattered singles for the sake of variety. There might be some truth to that. As for myself, I still stick to the album format. For me, it just makes sense, the same way watching whole films makes more sense than watching loose scenes. But also, I think I'm probably not that alone in this. Otherwise, how come lots of people upload whole albums to YouTube and you can see those albums get lots of views? Out of those albums, by the way, came many of my listenings for this experiment. Our time won't produce great musicians like Bowie. How could it when musicians are denied the payment that is not only fair, but necessary for the development of any line of work? Streaming companies and their draconian policies have replaced album sales, and the price of gas, anti-COVID measures, and the venues' bite on merchandise have done away with most of the profit from touring. Dark times on that regard, but at the same time it hasn't ever been easier to access to the works of those great artists from the past. You have them literally at the tip of your fingers, just by typing their name on a database. This is certainly a wealth that wasn't available in other times, and which must be used. Who knows, perhaps by honoring and knowing better our past, we'll be able to discover some kind of solution for the serious problems our present faces.